to a working lunch with Nordin. Today, we've got with us the handsome, the effervescent, and the fun Bruce Hope. Thank you very much for joining us, Bruce.
Thank you, Nordin, for that wonderful intro.
Yes, and we're back at Le Méridien. Thank you very much, our friends at Le Méridien, for preparing such a lovely lunch for us. Bruce has gone with the burger, my favorite, as you all know, but I've gone with the fish and chips. Bruce is actually from New Zealand. So how do you pronounce this dish in New Zealand?
Well, if you want the Australian version of the New Zealand accent, it's fish and chips.
Okay.
But I call it fish and chips like everybody else.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce. Sorry. Bruce is, of course, an old friend of ours and someone who's well known in Malaysia and across the region as well. So today we're going to be speaking about a whole bunch of stuff, I hope. We're going to have a nice lunch. So I will let you get started, Bruce, because if you don't eat, our viewers get upset.
Oh, I have to eat as well.
You have to eat as well. It's not just.
But they want to see. Oh, well,
how well you do it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to give an intro to the food too.
Go ahead.
So this is a lovely looking burger, and thank you for the recommendation. Yes, right. It's wonderful to be here today. I've been in Malaysia for 18 years now, on and off, mostly on now. I first came to Malaysia doing consulting for telecommunications, and then I met my very fine wife, and try as hard as I may, we're still here. So, yes. And it's good. It's a great place to be.
Okay.
So cool. The food itself, lovely burger, right?
Yes, exactly.
Is it Australian beef? Do you know? Do you ever check?
It's Angus.
Angus. Well,
Black
I mean,
Angus.
That's a cow, but
I don't know. I don't know where he was from. But he's here now.
He's here now. So he's obviously a Malaysian. He's adapted to the climate quite well.
It was a little bit warm this morning for him, but otherwise he's done a good job. So, Bruce, one of the things, and you mentioned the environment. You've done some great stuff with the environment in Malaysia. I mean, you've done some great work and all this kind of stuff, but kind of the things that I always like to think about you is the stuff that you've done for the oceans and cleaning up and getting that kind of stuff done. Can you tell us a bit about what you've done with the cleanups and that you've done, and how do you make this thing fun? Because a lot of environmentalists, I mean, I just have a very different approach, but you're actually out there doing stuff. What's your secret, and how do you do it? So I can enjoy my fish and chips.
Okay, well, you enjoy your fish and chips. Yeah, so I'm a very much a hands-on type of person. I like to do things. I sort of describe myself as a bored farmer. If I was back in New Zealand, I'd possibly be doing farming. So,
did you grow up on a farm?
I grew up on a farm, yes, and one of the farms my parents had was bordering on the sea. So I spent a lot of time fishing and walking around the rocks, and that's where I actually started my connection with diving. And I've done some diving in New Zealand, but I sort of really got into it here because diving in New Zealand is very cold.
Very cold.
It's you wear a very thick wetsuit, 7mm, and it's still cold. Whereas here in Malaysia, you can go diving. You can go diving without anything if you wish, though the authorities may not approve.
May not.
And what's the word? And so it's much more comfortable for diving. So recreational diving is so much better here. But having the connection with the sea, I wanted to be able to do a little bit more because actually, the more I study, the more you come to realize that the ocean actually controls our planet's climate. And if we don't look after that, then surely we will come to an end one way or another. The Earth will continue. It doesn't really care. But we as humans will actually struggle a lot. So I've been looking at how can we give back, how can we do things. So we organized a couple of events, and I'm a great believer in co-organizing. Better to cooperate and share, because there are many people who've got different interests, different passions, but trying to bring everybody together. So we cooperated with different organizations to actually bring about some reef cleanups. We did some work in Redang, and we also did some work in Tioman. And that was all about diving, doing a bit of coral replanting, and cleaning up, bringing up rubbish that you find in the shore. So that was the good part. That's what
Were
I
there
really
turtles
liked.
out there
Yes.
when you went?
Was that, sorry?
Were there turtles out there when you
There
went?
were turtles out there, but there's more now.
Okay, why?
At the moment, there's more now because there's fewer people out there. So I personally believe that they're feeling a little less threatened by so many people around. So they're saying, phew, got a chance to bit of R&R ourselves.
Go and
so
visit a beach.
So because they are basically naturally shy animals, they don't really like these large things lumbering around and photographing them and trying to hug them and whatever.
Unlike yourself.
Well, yeah, that's true. So yeah, we have been seeing more, and all of my friends, the friends that we've made, particularly in the likes of Reef Check Malaysia, and all the footage I see of more animals, more fish, more of everything, turning back up into the areas that we've been, because there's less tourism pressure. So that's definitely happening. So.
You use this term less tourism pressure. So now when we look at, in a sense, redefining our COVID-19, post-COVID-19 reality, what do you think the kind of, I don't know what the proper term is, but I'm sure it's like the suitable amount of tourism pressure on an environment should be now? Because we've seen the extreme of thousands of people going to the islands, and now we've seen the other extreme of nobody going to the island.
Yes.
Where's this happy ground that we can now find? Or is it going to go back to thousands of people?
It's one of those really difficult things, and I don't think that anybody has the one solution that can work. What I have seen and where things are starting to work is we create alternatives. So one of the things I've been doing in the likes of Tioman is planting or creating non-natural reefs, so whatever else you're putting in there, so that there's a different place for people to go diving, to go and visit, so that you're putting less pressure on the actual natural coral reefs and things.
Okay.
And allow it, because that's where obviously fish are breeding in the natural coral reef. So to give them less pressure, you try and divert them away.
Okay. So you give an alternative for the humans in this environment. Okay. I'll let you try your burger.
I'm just trying to make sure when I eat that it doesn't look too ghastly for our viewers.
Okay, just view on
attention on Nordin.
Go to Nordin Cam. This is like, okay, we're still playing. We're still having fun with our 3 different cameras. Okay, go Nordin Cam. Do we have one? My God. Yeah, that's like way too much light. But anyway, we'll have fun. We'll have fun getting this right. Okay, I'm gonna read some. Some people are asking, when can we go back on holidays? Yes, the burger is yummy. Come down to Le Méridien and order it while you can. Madeline Summit, what are your thoughts about? Okay, Madeline, half of your question has gone down and I can't read it. But less plastics would be fantastic. Yes, Anne, I agree with you. Now, the question is the gap between agriculture, food security, and the oceans. How are we seeing these environments change, and is it going to be better for our fish stocks? I think someone had asked about that.
Okay.
Sorry, this is what happens when you get on this show.
That's a tricky question, but I can give a small input into that one.
Okay, go ahead.
So in terms of, if we look at the planet, in my view, right? We look at the planet. There's 7.5 billion people and counting. So there's always going to be a demand for more food. So how do we produce that more food without basically killing what's actually feeding us? And so there's going to have to be, from what I've been reading, some of the studies I see out of New Zealand, I come from New Zealand, right, and the managed reserves and things like that, you actually have to protect larger areas and make sure they're fully protected rather than partial protection. So that that allows, for example, fish to breed and to actually grow old and die happily rather than being always fished out. There will need to be more places allocated for marine farming, so you actually are growing fish either in the sea or land-based marine farming, so that you're actually, so yes, it's not quite natural, but it's a better alternative than just endlessly harvesting out of the sea. I saw a very disturbing infographic the other day. One of my friends, Mike Barner, the Mr. Shark Man, he showed an infographic of where all the fishing boats are in the Pacific. And it was basically completely covered in red. I mean, obviously the dots don't represent the size of the boats, but they were just everywhere. And you're going, well, there's no let-up. That's 24/7 fish being captured. So we have to find a better way to do that, which to me means we have to be growing them. We have to be managing that harvest better. We also, and this is not a very good representation of what we are eating, is we need to be going for more plant-based.
Okay.
I have to say that while this burger is delicious, it's actually not very often I eat burgers. I have been trying to eat more vegetarian, to eat less meat and more vegetables.
Is that why you've lost weight?
That's part of the reason, yes. Thank you. And so it's actually proven for the amount of protein that we consume. There's a lot that we don't actually need to eat that much. And so being a more vegetable, plant-based diet will help a lot as well.
Okay. Another question on the breeding areas, and I think that was just answered as well. Thank you, David. Okay, some people are claiming we're going vegetarian the whole way, business-wise, economy-wise. Is this a sustainable? A sustainable solution to go fully vegetarian the whole thing, or because New Zealand's lamb is pretty good.
Yes, and so there are always going to be people. There are always going to be people who like to eat meat. And humans, being animals and carnivores or omnivores, they like to eat meat. Going vegetarian, yes, it is actually possible. Millions of people are vegetarians, right? I myself say I'm trying to go eat less meat and more vegetable, and it is something that's possible. And as a planet, it's better for us. But we also must remember in the world of the planet, there have always been carnivores as well. So meat eating in itself is not incorrect. It's are we doing the correct thing, such as separation of, so you have factory farms producing beef, and then you have other farms producing grain to then feed the beef to the cows, so that we can then put them into a burger. Is that a better way of doing it? Is that the best way of doing it? Is it better to be the more natural grazing style of feeding animals, so that that's a better way, in my own view. Because then what I see, a lot of it's also about waste management as well. You've got these intense farms producing a lot of pollution in terms of excrement, whatever. Where does that go? How do you treat that properly? Are you actually ponding it and actually letting it be treated biologically, or are you just putting it into the waterways and away it goes?
So I think it's an interesting discussion around this idea of circular economy. And I think this is starting to really dig, get some traction where people are saying, okay, what can we do with the residue, and stop using the word waste and start using the word residue, and say, look, this is useful stuff if you just process it and if you think about it. And I think one of the things that I've seen is like having a design mentality. So like, okay, let's design the process of this a little bit better, as opposed to, look, I'm just a beef farmer, and I've produced the beef and now I've moved it on. I've done my job. So having said that, and I didn't want to have an agricultural discussion with you, but as a boy who grew up on a farm, you kind of avoid it sometimes. And of course, there are people out there who killing vegetables is not good. You can check who said that in the comments below. But having said that, when we look at which camera? When we look at the camera, when we look at things that are going on now.
Kappa.
Hey, that's my camera. Get out of here. So when we look at how we're going to redesign things post COVID-19, what are you doing with your business, and what are you seeing has changed in the last 12 months or so with your business? And I know you've got several businesses,
Yes.
So you can choose whichever one you want to give a nice plug
one I want to talk
now.
about. All right. So let me. Well,
this is a working lunch, so
that's a working
it's
lunch.
business.
Well, let me talk about business too.
Yeah,
all right.
let's talk
So
business.
one of my companies, we do swimming pools.
Okay.
We do a lot of servicing, maintenance, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we lessen our impact on the environment? It's actually a tricky thing, right? Because swimming pools in themselves are actually not natural. And we put chemicals in there all the time to actually kill bugs, and the bugs are actually only there because they're doing their job that they were told to do when they were born and created, right? So it's a bit of a challenge. How do we make it environmentally less impacting? And there are various water treatment methods, and so we are continually looking at what is the best method, what is the least impact. I don't think we can get to a zero impact unless we go for natural pools. And natural pools are a little bit difficult in a commercial environment because if you have, for example, this wonderful hotel here, they have a wonderful pool. But if you don't treat that, if you don't kill the pathogens, the bugs that can be transmitted, then people will say, hey, this pool is unsafe. So the hotels need to make sure, or every place needs to make sure the pools are safe to swim in. So that's why you still have to add chemicals. So now it's just a constant search of how do you reduce the amount of chemical that you use to still achieve the result of keeping the water safe to swim in.
Yeah, exactly. During this entire time, during the MCO, because we weren't at the pools.
Yeah.
Did they have to keep them all operating, or what was the...
all the pools were still basically functioning because you can't turn off a swimming pool. If we don't treat them, we don't put chemical in, then you start having another health hazard, which is called mosquitoes and potentially dengue. So the pools had to keep operating. If you actually drain the water, then you have a different problem of potentially all the tiles will pop off. And then you go, well, I saved my money on maintenance, but now I have to spend money on repairs.
Okay.
So that's why they still all had to continue. So even though there were months went by, people couldn't use the pool, weren't allowed to, and for a very good reason. But it actually meant that it's just sitting there. It was just frustrating for everybody because we
nice
as a service provider want people to be able to use the pools.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they go,
that's interesting. Yeah. The other thing, and I think we were talking before this, you've started a business that involves the data and technology. What is that, and why is it any way related to your pool, or is it just like your entrepreneurial look? I woke up one morning and I said, look, let's solve this problem.
It's almost that. It's almost the I woke up one morning. We've been working on this for a while, actually. Because my background before I was the pool guy, my background was telecommunications and IT. And we've been working on basically biometric solutions, portable thumbprint solutions for construction sites and places where there are no ready IT infrastructure for attendance, security patrol.
Because COVID-19 was a massive problem on construction sites. And still is.
Yes, it's still a problem. So
is this something
that's something I haven't explored yet, but it's something that I actually definitely there. It's how do you make sure that people who are coming are free from COVID? There's a lot of discussion around health-based passports.
Okay.
And that's something we're not currently investigating. We're sticking on things that are current business problems for us in manufacturing and service. So.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Oh, that's fine. So
I digress.
Yeah, you did digress.
It wasn't Bruce. It was me. It's my fault. Go ahead, Bruce.
So we've been providing these. They were terminal-based solutions, And they've been working really well. We've got a few very happy customers using the thumbprint-based system for attendance and for security patrol. Then, with the advent of COVID, it actually made everybody much more aware. I don't have my handphone on me. Everybody's now using QR codes. Everybody's used to it. So suddenly that actually means people are becoming a little bit more, I don't know about trusting, but at least accepting of, hey, this here technology can be used. So we're now have updated our solution from being terminal-based, which we still have, to being QR code-based. So you scan in or scan out, you do security patrol, and then we're now developing that for our service company, because at the moment, one of our biggest frustrations is no matter how much I want to be, and our company wants to be paperless, our clients, every month, our commercial clients still want a piece of paper
that says
the guys came and they get a signature or whatever.
Yeah.
We've been really struggling with that one, but now we're once we can do QR code based and we get the signing off digital signatures, that may allow for most of our clients to be able to do that sign off, and then people can log in, they can see the reports for whatever they want. And that one is basically coming out next month.
So you would say that COVID-19 has helped the digitization of the economy, but we're just not 100% there yet.
Yeah, well, it takes time. You have to work at it, right? It's all very well saying you must do this, but it has to make people's lives easier. What I don't want to do, and that's why it's been, for example, in my own service company, I don't want my guys who are already really busy, and they're already working in an environment that's not that comfortable. It's hot a lot of the time, it's wet a lot of the time, working by themselves, whatever. If you say you now need to do this as well, they're saying, I don't want to, boss. So you have to make it easier for them. Their job has to become easier. So where COVID has actually prompted, or the pandemic has actually prompted people saying, hey, we can do things differently. But you still have to do education. You still have to have training around it. And again, making people's lives easier. Working from home was, to me, a good way for people to understand what's possible. But as a service company, essential services, we were still out there every day anyway, so we never had the work from home concept.
Okay, so when we talk about this QR codes, when we talk about thumbprints, when we talk about all that, for me, security comes to mind.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about transitioning. I mean, in Malaysia, I don't know how many thousands or probably millions of security guards we have on what's it called? Thermometer duty now.
Yes.
You know,
body shop.
But so he's like, deet,
yes.
Deet.
Yes.
I mean, it's good they're standing up. They're more active now.
Yes.
It's wonderful. But is the environment of security going to change, and should it change? And can it change to reduce the amount of humans, in a sense, required to do a job which is quite, I mean, a task, not a job, a task, which is actually quite simple?
Yes, well, funny you should ask that, right?
Amazing.
One of the things I'm actually, I'm a technical advisory board member, right, of a Selangor Walaya Industrial Security Society. Bit of a mouthful, but it's actually about how do we improve security in Malaysia. How do we go from what I call the body shop approach of better security means more guards to how do we have outcome-based, how do we ensure that there are no burglaries or break-ins or whatever using a good mix of technology and people. And we may talk about that on another day. But you can already see technology does help that. For example, if you go into KLCC, thermometer duty is actually done by infrared scanning. It's already there. So the airports have it, the larger centres such as KLCC have it. It's already in Mandarin Oriental Hotel as well. So the temperature's being taken not by a person, but by the machines already there. Then when it comes to security, absolutely more can be done through user interaction so that you can do more community-based security, people can look out for each other with technology as opposed to having physical people there to do that.
Okay. So, hi, Michael. Great to see you as well. Thanks for joining us today. And two old friends having a chat. We need to get you back on. We need to get you on the show, not back on the show, but thanks for joining us. And Anne's made a comment that thanks and comment. Just behind the scenes, guys, what's happening now is Bruce is quickly eating half of his burger while I read out these things.
It's a good burger, by the way.
It's a good burger. So banks and governments want us to go cashless and have accelerated the shift to digital banking only. Is that digital banking the cutting edge, or is it just because banks have heaps of money, we'll get them to do that first? Or do you see security and I mean, we talk this idea about smart cities. You know, when we talk about smart cities, like how smart is it? I mean, for me, a smart city is only as smart as the people you put it in it. So the people have to be smart. So it's wonderful when you see all those lovely photos and the drones are flying and all these fun things. But all put that all aside. Is it the banks are at the cutting edge, or is it everyone needs to step up to the plate?
I mean, basically, cashless payment. We're coming from New Zealand. We've had electronic payments for our pay for. I don't remember the last time I actually had cash payment to me, and that was basically not even New Zealand, around the world. No matter where I was working, the payment to me was always via direct transfer into a bank account. It's more around the payment to retailers. So for me, I'm now finding I spend much less money physically in cash. That's now more card-based. And again, that's one thing about the pandemic and people working from home, staying home, is more and more transactions are all happening online.
Yes.
But that then gives the rise to, is that secure? Are there going to be problems with fraud? Are there going to be problems with you buy stuff that doesn't come what you order, those sorts of things, which, again, that's all
one
around
sleeve is
that.
too long. Yeah, I know, and I think this is the thing that I'm still getting used to, this online shopping thing, and it just, I'm not there. I mean, I'm honest, I'm not a digital native.
Well, I actually feel a little bit sorry for the current retailers who basically put all their goods out there, and if you're people such as myself, you go there and have a look to see what it is that you want. Then you say, cool, that's what I want, and then you go and order it online because it's cheaper. I feel sorry for those retailers.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why where I can, try and buy from the retailer because I've gone to all that effort. But the reality is, because they have to pay rates and rentals and all sorts of things, their cost is going to be higher. So part of the so shopping in itself is going to migrate. So how do the retailers deal with that shift? And you can see some of them already doing it by saying, okay, buy from me, you can buy from online. So they're saying that they're trying to have both a physical and virtual presence.
Okay, cool. So as we wind up our lunch and let Bruce actually eat more of it.
It's good.
He's working on it. So go to Nordin Camp. So there we go.
Yes.
See, Bruce is eating away happily without being self-conscious. Although I don't think Bruce has worried about that. He's not worried about that at all. One of the things that I would like you to kind of give your 30-second elevator pitch, or your 30-second bit of advice to entrepreneurs who are now struggling a little bit, and now thinking, okay, what are we doing next and how are we moving forward? So what do you see as the way forward for business people in this new environment that we're seeing in a kind of, I mean, you're very positive, but what's that positive outlook for us?
Actually, that's a fairly tough question. Yes, because I mean, I feel as though we were fortunate because we were in an essential service, and so business had to carry on. Whereas if you were not in the essential service, Some of them were actually got shut down. So, but the positive outlook, business is still there. There are always opportunities. So what we've been doing is we're doing a mix-up. Look at your own business. See, what else can I do to add value to my current business? What else can I do to reduce my costs? It might sound like a platitude, but for example, can I reduce my costs by digitizing some of the actions that I do? Can I save costs by maybe simple outsourcing? And that's actually, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because we're a service company, right?
Yes.
We need to employ people.
Yes.
Here's a weird thing. It's still cheaper for me to employ a foreigner via another company, outsourced, than it is for me to hire a local. And I go, that's very,
Strange.
very strange. So that's, as industry, as a country, how do we solve that problem, right? It's not that I'm saying we should be paying the locals less, but why is it cheaper for me to hire a foreigner?
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
So.
Imran, you're going to get the privilege of the last question. How about making products that enable your dream vision, saving the world? Question mark. Bruce. Well, later when he goes off, he's going to wear a Superman suit. He had to I had to get him to wear a shirt today.
Yes, yes. Well, it's actually under here. I can show you. I know that's my transparent version. Basically, creating something to save the world. That's okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to save the world.
Corner of the world.
My little corner of the world. We still need to be working harder on reduction of plastic. That's one of our biggest things getting into the entire ecosystem. So we have to be working more on plant-based plastics. So it's not going to be an app, but perhaps more of how do we invest in that type of technology so that instead of having a plastic bag to throw away that just then sits around and everything eats it apart from what's supposed to having plant-based that actually dissolve.
Okay, cool. All right, on that note, I wanted to say thank you. No, go to the two cameras.
Go to the two cameras. By the way, hey, this is a really good burger.
Yeah.
Thank you to Méridien. Yes. Wonderful burger.
Very good. And I think I saw the chef walking around earlier.
Yes.
So yes, thank you to Méridien. Thank you for your ongoing support.
And I need to say thank you, Nordin, for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Bruce, for coming. And we're having good fun. As Michael pointed out, we're having a good chat. And I really want to appreciate everyone for joining us today on A Working Lunch with Nordin. And we will see you again next week. If we didn't answer any of the questions, we will follow up later. We will follow up later. Bruce is really good at follow-ups. Aren't you, Bruce?
I am.
You are?
Yes.
So am I. But I want to be better. So on that note, thank you very much for joining us on A Working Lunch with Nordin. We will see you again next week. And thank you again to Méridien and Bruce for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.